Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Fiona and I'm a full-time artist. And on this channel, I like to take you with me on my artistic journey, whether that means showing you projects in my studio, going out to see cool art exhibits, buying art supplies and sharing my haul with you, or sharing some artist tips from things that I've learned, which is what we're going to do today. If any of that sounds like something that you're into, please do like and subscribe. It helps me out so much and I would really appreciate it. So first of all, I hope that your 2023 is off to a good start. Mine was a little slow. So I'm somebody that's January 1st, I want to be in the studio, making stuff, hit the ground running, but I got the flu on New Year's Eve. So the whole first week of January, I was just knocked out. Then my husband got it and I had to take care of him. So that was another week gone. And we have had a very late start to January around here in the Fiona C studios, but that's okay. So I want to show you what I've been up to, as well as sharing some tips for maybe kickstarting your creativity, because I know it can be hard, like if you don't do the New Year's resolution January 1st thing, then you might feel deflated. But I just want to say that you don't have to feel deflated. You can start this anytime. You can be watching this, you know, January 1st or July 1st. It doesn't really matter. It's never too late to start kickstarting your creativity. So I hope that you will find something helpful in here. And I would also love to hear what you've been up to and what you're doing to get your creative juices flowing in 2023. So please leave a comment below. Anywho, let's get into it. All right, friends, the first thing is to clean and organize your creative space. This is typically the first thing that you'll see on a lot of these creative Kickstart lists, and I think that that's for a good reason, because if you don't have a designated creative space, you're probably less likely to do creative work. With that said, I can acknowledge that I am in a studio space that I have took the time to renovate. In fact, that's when I started this YouTube channel, when I was renovating my studio and wanted to document that. But previous to owning a home, I've had studios in second bedrooms, in shared office spaces. I've done it out of the corner of my kitchen and used my kitchen counter when I've had to do large canvases. Or I've just had my sketchbook tucked under a coffee table with a couple of pens that I would take out when I wanted to work on the couch. So whatever your creative space is, however big, however small, as long as you have that designated space, you're probably way more likely to make creative work. And then however you want to organize it should just be optimized for your own workflow. So whatever materials you need the easiest access to, that's what you should have in your creative space. So with all of that said, one of the things that had been nagging me about my space was all my packaging. So I went through, organized all of that, put it into a closet so it's easier for me to access, as well as I got any orders that had come in after Christmas into January packaged and ready to ship out to go to their new home. That way I could start fresh in the studio. So my second tip kind of goes with the first one of cleaning and organizing your space, which is to take inventory of your work and your art supplies. So as you can see here, I was going through what I had. Some of these things were sentimental that I would not want to sell or show, and I was putting those away, versus a couple of pieces that I had stored away, but I hadn't photographed for my website. So I was able to take those out, rephotograph them, and update my web shop. And it just helped me kind of get a clear view of the bodies of work that I had and what was still around and existing, what I would like to keep and what I would like to move out of the studio. There's definitely something to the mentality of knowing your inventory helps you sort of determine newer work you would want to make from two standpoints. It might reference new work and lead you into something you might want to continue an older body of work, or it just gives you that feeling of, oh, I don't really have that many of these left. That means I can make more of that size format. So it just depends on your outlook, but knowing that helped me when I was organizing this. Knowing what supplies you have on hand is another. So I took some time, I went through this filing cabinet, which had a ton of like adhesives and papers and some stationery, some sketchbooks, just sort of a mishmash of things, and got that well organized, as well as the corner of my studio where I have a board where I hang up tools. There was also a broken shelf there, which I took down. I put a new one up. I have all my glazes there, my paints, a little bit of everything. But the biggest thing was I wanted to go through my Posca marker collection. As many of you know, I am completely obsessed with this art supply, but a lot of the time I'll use it and just throw it back in here, even if they're empty. And if I pick one out and it's empty, instead of taking it out to recycle it, I'll just throw it back in there. So I finally took some time, went through, organized everything, and saw what I could recycle and what I was keeping. So here is the pieces that are getting recycled. I know it's quite a lot. Here is my paper where I wrote everything out so I could see which ones worked and didn't. And finally, my beautiful reorganized cart, which I'm very happy about. All right, your space is organized. You have all your art supplies out, you're ready to go. And then you look around and go, what am I going to do? So if you find yourself at this point, I would recommend filling up your inspiration well, which is just a way of saying, go and get yourself inspired. And I think different things inspire different people, but here's a few things that I like to do that fill up my inspiration well. So the first thing is my mood board at home. So I have a wall that sits behind my desk and I pin inspiration to it, and sometimes just take a few moments to stare at it, and that'll give me a boost. And this type of wall is something I've had in every single studio going back to 2007 when I had my first creative space, just surrounding yourself with things that inspire you. The next thing I would recommend is visiting a museum. This actually really depends on the person, because I know some folks can be overwhelmed by being in museum spaces, but for me personally, it gets me energized, especially if I see larger scale works or installations, maybe certain color palettes. It just lets me daydream and let my mind run wild with ideas. And if you are someone who may get overwhelmed with larger museums, then maybe try a smaller gallery or find one particular artist who's having a show that you would like to see and check that out, and that might inspire you. Another thing I recommend is reading a book or watching a documentary. They can be about art or not about art. I personally get inspired when I read about fellow artists or see a documentary about fellow artists. And lately I've been really enjoying the Louisiana channel here on YouTube. I'll link it below. They interview artists, and just hearing some of them speak about their own studio practice really gets me fired up, or seeing their approach to art supplies. Art books are really great for the same sort of thing. I did an entire video where I went to my public library and I checked out artist books, so I will also link that below. Another unexpected place that you might find inspiration is your own artwork or old sketchbooks. You never know when looking at your own work might inspire you, and there's been several times that I've felt a bit lost in my work and then opened the pages of an old sketchbook to see older concepts I feel I could revisit. And I'm also someone who has drawn over older works and updated them and sort of brought them to where I am now. So you can always bring your past works into a future light. And lastly, something that I would recommend about filling that inspiration well is scrolling social media. This can be tricky because it's easy to fall into a deep hole of endless scrolling, so I would say be intentional with it. Look for particular things that stand out to you, save them, screenshot them, however you want to remember them, and think, why does this inspire me? And how could I apply something similar to my own practice? Similar to the museum. Is it the scale of the work that you're seeing? Is it the colors? Is it the subject matter? Try to keep in mind what it is that's inspiring you. And hopefully by the end of doing either a combination of these things or maybe just one thing off this list, your inspiration well will be just that bit more full. My fourth tip is to start a new project you're excited about. While I admittedly have several works waiting for me to revisit, I did feel the urge to begin a new project just to give me that creative kickstart that I was looking for. And sometimes we might feel weighed down in the process of getting through a larger body of work, so it helps to turn to something new that we're excited about. So for me, it was turning to this wall in my studio and making it into a mural project. I've been wanting to make more murals and offer interiors as a part of my business, and I think I was becoming known for outdoor murals, so I just wanted to showcase what I could do indoors as well on accent walls. So I decided what better place to start than my own home. With that said, I hope you all enjoy seeing this wall change over the year as I update it with new murals every once in a while, and I will at some point make a larger video about this. But for yourselves, I just think instead of maybe returning to old work that maybe you're feeling a bit uninspired by, that when you're looking for a creative kickstart, sometimes it's just fun to start on something new that you've been thinking about and that you're really excited about. Tip number 5 I have is to collaborate with another artist. As many of you who watch my channel know, I collaborate with my mother on ceramics. She creates the vessels and I glaze them, and then we have our own kiln that we fire our works in. With that said, I've been wanting to try jewelry for a little while, and I played with polymer clay on my own and I didn't have much success with it. So I asked my mother at the beginning of this year if we could collaborate on some ceramic jewelry, to which she agreed. And you know, sometimes it's hard to accomplish our creative vision on our own, and it's just fun to bring somebody else in. And it can be a direct collaboration like what I have with my mother, or you could just ask a buddy to come along with you, bring their sketchbook, and you could go to a local coffee shop and do some live sketches together. So it doesn't have to be a direct one with a fellow artist. It could just be working alongside them, and it can be very invigorating and exciting. But who knows, maybe in 2023, it's the year that you're going to make some collaborative artwork. All right, friends, you have your space organized, you're inspired, and you have your project. Now what you need to do is get into a creative routine. And this could be as simple as picking one night a week to draw on a sketchbook, or as complicated as starting a 100-day project, which is what I decided to do January 1st of 2019. But either way, just scheduling and committing a creative schedule can give you that kickstart that you need. And as I like to say, momentum over motivation. Once you start making art on a routine basis, the next thing you know, you'll find yourself in the groove and sort of a flow of sorts. And you don't have to make quote unquote good art either. In fact, I encourage you to make what would be considered bad art. And that's usually the only way to make good art, is to make a ton of quote unquote bad art. Because the only other option is to never make anything. And in that case, you won't ever make bad art, but you'll never make any art in general either. So making bad art doesn't make you a bad artist, but what bad art does is it leads you to good art. So I hope you can get into that creative routine, and that will ultimately find you on your way to your creative kickstart. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found something helpful in it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Comment below if there's anything that you have been doing that you also want to share, because that's usually where the best conversations happen, are down in the comments. So share what you've been doing to sort of get your creative juices flowing this year, and I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, stay well and stay inspired, my friends. Bye.